Hi guys, welcome to the flight this evening as we're with Sky Express in the 737-700, and we're going to be doing a flight from Crete down into Rhodes with this lovely aircraft. Livery looks very nice indeed. As we're going to be departing out for runway 27 out on the SID, about 600 feet, we'll make a right hand turn which will then lead us up onto the Rhodes destination. Coming in on the arrival, we're going to take the ILS Zulu for runway 24. And we'll just be transitioning off to the side of the airport before we make a left-hand turn to intercept for the localizer. So don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Leave your comments down below. Help us get to 2,000 subscriber goal. And I will see you in the cockpit, ready to start the aircraft up and ready for our departure out of lovely Crete. Okay, so we're in the 737-700 now, so we'll go overhead, we'll get our battery on and guarded, standby power is guarded, and ground power is on. We'll go to bat and ground power. From there we'll get the one pump on and go for the APU as we get our panel lights all lit up. We'll arm the emergency lights, we'll get our chimes on along with our fasten seatbelts which will be checked, and we can get the window heats all on and ready to go. Trimmer will be set along with our packs which will be auto, the isolation valves open, and we'll open the APU bleed up when the APU comes to life. Switch over the navs now for the IRS. We'll get the flaps setting, which will test, flight data recorder, which will also test, and we can test out our speed warnings. We've also got the terrain test, and we can test off the APU as well. So we've got overheat detection, overheat detection, test the bottles, got the two for the engine and one for the APU. Okay, airspeed low, so terrain warning checks are checked, and we'll get the panel lighting for the PFD etc. now all ready for us to leave. Overhead now, we'll get the positioning lights on which will be checked. The APU is now ready to be switched over, so we'll go to the APU gen, and we are now ready to light up the aircraft with the information it needs ready for us to go. So going to the position, we're going from Lima Golf India Romeo, which is going to be right here. That will come through onto the GPS. And we'll punch that in. We'll then get our screens alive, which we'll see now. And we're going now for the aircraft. Got Lima Golf India Romeo, and we're coming in for Lima Golf Romeo Papa. Okay, which is set. Out on the departure, we are leaving out for runway 27, out for the Dilav 1 Delta. From there we'll go to our routing. From Delav we're going to be taking the Victor 57, which is going to take us down to Lochner. From Lochner, that is going to be the arrival in. So we've got Lochner, and then the arrival is the Lochner 2 Delta. So let's get rid of that. So we've got the Lochner 2 Delta. We're going to be coming in for the ILS Zulu 24, and we are transition off for the Romeo Delta Sierra, which we'll see on the charts as we'll show you the arrival in. Once we come down, we're going to go to the Romeo Delta Sierra, which is our initial approach fix, which is Rhodes for the 115.8. From our initial approach fix, then we are going to follow it down onto the 062 and then arrive it all the way 3,000 down to 2,500 feet. We'll intercept the glide slope at 2,500 feet, which would just be after 10 DME from par. So that'll be the Papa Alpha Romeo for Rhodes as well. We'll come down, got our glide slope, got 3 degree, and if the localizer descent angle 2.68, the ILS is going to be 282 on the decision height with the 300 MTA. So we are all good to go. We can put the auto brake to RTO. We can now arm the flight director. Get the first officer's panel lights in. QNH is going to be 1010, which is checked. 1010, and we've got 1010, which is set and checked. So from there, moving on, we can then go in and get the routing, perf and everything all set up. We'll execute that off. Now the perf can go in. We've got around 60 tons. We're rocking in around 1.4 on the reserve, so cost index today for the whole flight 48. Going for a flight level of 210. ISA is 255030. And we've also got -16. Okay, execute that off. For takeoff, we're going full takeoff and we're going to climb 1. We can climb out, we're going to be going all the way up to 7,000 feet. We've got flaps 5, 143 for V2 with a 131 for rotate. Okay, so that's set. Flight directors are on. We can now arm the auto throttle, which is checked. We've got 24% for the centre of gravity, which is going to be on for the trim, so 4.55. Okay, which we'll say is there, which is fine and set. Leaving out runway winds today, coming out of a lovely Crete Vengance 31012. Takeoff speeds will be deleted. Reduction is going to be at 1,000 feet. And we've got everything all verified as well, 143 and 1314 rotate. So we are pretty much now all set to go. So we'll get all of our fuel pumps on, which will be set. The yaw damper can go on. We'll get the anti-collision on with our electric hydraulics, which will all be checked and set. We'll go in now and get the doors and everything shut so we can start to roll out. We're going to go straight from the block. So chucks and everything is removed, and we can now tell all of the lovely ground services to leave us now as we get ready to go. So auto brakes to RTO, which is set, lights out. So we can turn off the packs, which will be set. We're going for a flight level of 210. Ground equipment is clear and checked. So what we'll do is the packs are off now. We can get the engine bleeds off as well, which are checked, and we'll go for engine number 2. So there's a start valve. N2 is increasing now. We'll see how all pressure temps come to life. 25% would inject fuel, around 54%, 56% N2. We should then hear the cut-off switch for the engine starter. Okay, so just went through to stabilise now. Engine number 2's come back, and we'll now go for engine number 1. So see start valves open, N2's increasing, all temps will come to life. Again, 25% inject fuel, and then we can see the GT start to increase. Temperature's 15 degrees, so we won't need anti-ice or anything as we leave out. There's 17%, 25, we'll then inject. Number 2 and number 1 now are both ignited. So before taxi checklist, we've got our generators 1 and 2, which are switched over and checked. Probe heats can go now on, which are also set and checked. Wing anti-ice and engine anti-ice is off. Packs can now go back to auto. The isolation valve can go to auto. The engine bleeds can go off with the APU bleed, and we can turn the APU off as well, which is also set and checked. Engine start switches, which are continuous, which is also set. We can drop down into our flaps 5, which is confirmed. Elevator trim is 4.55, which is set. Flight controls, which will be free and correct, which is also set. Recall, which is clear. Lower display unit, which can go off. Taxi lights on for request taxi clearance and runway tunnel flights as required. So we are now ready to taxi out. If we check in on our taxi route, we are going to make a right hand turn. We'll follow it all the way down Delta, down into 27, where we'll turn around and then blast straight out for the departure. 600 feet we are going to move around onto the 107 to then set the 062, which will then track outbound to flight level 70 at or above for Delev. So 7,000, we're going to go straight for 210 as VNAV will allow us to climb straight through. We've got Heraklion, which is the 108.8. Okay, which is set, and the NDB is the 431. Okay, which is set. Put it in on the other side as well. 108.8, which is checked. So we can see that we've got the NDB, which will come up, and we've also got in on everything else. There we go. So NDB is right there for the Hotel Echo Romeo, and we've also got the VOR as well over on the right hand side. So we are now all ready for our departure. We can go and bring the control column over. Taxi lights can now go on, which are checked, and we can now release the parking brake and get ready to taxi forward out to runway 27. So parking brake is released. Leaving for 27, we're going to be heading out on the runway of the 271. So 25-degree bank, 271, which is checked. And when we lead out to backtrack, we are going to be leading out onto the 062. Okay, so 062. 062, which is checked, anti-collision position light steady, and now we can taxi on from runway 27. So we're going to taxi down, follow Delta all the way. And once we get down to the bottom, we'll make a left-hand turn where we'll then line up, and then we'll be ready to depart. We're taking full takeoff, so full takeoff on Toga, and then we'll switch into climb 1 around about 1,000 feet. We should then 1,000 feet AGL. We'll then see the climb 1 come in over on the engine display, and we'll see the throttles cut back. Runway winds as we leave out of the runway. We've got 310 at 12. As we're just going to cross over one of the runways just before we head over. As you can see, we're just going to be crossing over 30. So we're literally right near the end now. We've got the second left, which is going to be the very end one for us. So we'll throttle back now, get ready to slow down, and then we get to our before takeoff checklist. Okay, so we're just going to pass over the hold short. So we'll get the runway turn-offs on, we can turn the taxis off, strobes can go on as well, which are set. As we're now going to cross over the hold and enter onto the active runway. So cabin crew, take your seats for departure. So it's 600 feet. We're going to make that right hand turn where we're then going to follow on out up the runway. We'll engage LNAV, etc. once we get onto the runway. 400 feet LNAV will be engaged once we go up through our flap retractions. Once flaps up are engaged, we can then engage LNAV. Okay, so here we are. We'll just get the brake. I don't think the brake working out. There we go, we've got the brake on. This usually doesn't work with the Zevo for some reason. For me, I think it's something to do with the joystick. So before takeoff check, it's got parking brake which is set, fuel flow reset rate, center fuel pumps are off, de-ice is off, cabin lights are set, flight instruments are all set and checked, engine instruments are checked, and we've also got our nav equipment, V1, rotate and V2, we've got 129, 131 for rotate and 143 for V2. We can bug up, we've got no restrictions pretty much as we come out, only if we was coming out from the opposite direction of 27 at 1000 feet, 210. Okay, so there we go, back to 210, so we're going to keep to our flat retraction speed until we finish off around the procedure turn, and then we can come back. So, let's go in and get the TA on. Weather, there isn't really any clouds or anything in the vicinity, and we are now all ready to go. So, what we can do is we can release the brake, get the landing lights on, which are checked, 40%. Which are stabilized, and toga. Yeah, speed line.
80 knots.
Check. Throw hold. Feedback. On.
E1. Rotate.
Rotate.
Positive rate.
Gear up. Pre-arm LNAV as well, so 400 feet we'll go into LNAV. You see the winds are not very nice at all. 400 checked. We're going to bug up now to our flaps 1, which will hold out onto the turn.
1000.
1000 checked. There's a climb speed coming in. Flight director should start to move down just a little, as it is very, very, very rocky for some reason. So as we follow now round onto that right hand turn, coming through and get the auto brake which will be off, and we've got the gear which can be retracted and turned off as well. Hold now onto flaps 1 as we come round to this right hand bend, and now we'll bug up to our flaps up, which is set. Continuing on onto that right hand turn, we've got max 210 on our speed, and we'll be at flight level 7000 or above by the time we get down to Deves. So just passing through 3003 now, going up to our flaps up speed, which will hold in. We'll keep flaps 1 now engaged just until we get around the bend. As you can see, the wind's not very nice at all. As you can see, it's doing quite a lot in terms of pushing the aircraft around. Still flying the aircraft manually as we're now swinging onto that right hand turn. So there's flaps 1, and there's our flaps up in, which we're going to hold. I'm going to keep flaps 1 there though, because I don't want the speed to drop too low. And we can also see our max bank limits as well within on the flaps 1 too. Passing through 5005. As just getting ready to pass through the clouds. So there's 1010, we go over now, transition altitude, so go to standard, which will be set, and we can now get the autopilot which is engaged. We can turn all of the Q&H's over now to standard, and we are all ready to go. So engine start switches can be turned off, which is checked, conservative climb, gear is up and off, no lights. Flaps can now be retracted, VNAV can go back in. And we are now fully on our climb up. So engine start switches are off and checked, gear levers off, no lights, runway turn-off lights can be turned off, which are set. Passing through 10,000 feet, we'll then get the landing lights which we turned off. CMDA is engaged, altimeter is set to standard, and ATC is required. Passing 10,000 feet, landing lights will be off along with our fastened seatbelts and centre fuel pumps. So as our flaps up, you can see with the VNAV it's holding the 210, which we've also got set in here, 210 below. And once we get to Labux, we can start to proceed up. As we're now tracking him onto the 061, which is then going to take us down onto the 061 pretty much. Okay, there's 061, which is same. But on the weather, there's really nothing to see on the weather's front, so we'll just keep the terrain in. As now just past 10,000 feet, we get our landing lights, which will all go off and checked. And that's pretty much it for the departure, guys, as it is a rocky one today. We're going to track in now. As we can see, we've left the VORs. Now we're tracking the 062, and then we'll see our above flight level 70, which is for the SIP2 only, and then at 13,000 feet now, we're not too far from our top of climb. So what we can do, guys, is we'll go to our takeoff cinematics, and once we come back we will get ready to come down into lovely Rhodes for the ASUS Zulu for runway 24. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, guys, and I'll see you when we get back, when it's time to blast into Rhodes. Hi guys, welcome back to the flight deck. As we are just within around 30 nautical miles from our top of descent. Got 6,000 feet, which is set on the MCP altitude, which is going to take us down to 6,000 feet to our initial approach fix from Lochner down to Rhodes, which is the 115.8, which we have the VOR in for, which we're currently 18 nautical miles out. Now checking the METARs, we've got 250 at 11 knots coming in, and what we can also do for the descent, we can put the forecast in as well. So we'll put 150 in, put 100 in, and we'll put 5,000 in. Okay, which will be set. We'll get our descent and everything, the winds on the descent. We've got 15257 at 018. For 10,247 at 014, 022. Okay, which is set. 5,000 feet. We'll set that down to our 250 at 11. It's going to know anyway, so we'll just tell it that. QNH is going to be 1008. We'll just have to put a star in. Oh, there we go. Should work. There we go. 1008, which is in. A few clouds at 1,800 feet, and we've got 11 knot winds from the west to southwest. which is all in. So we've got the descent, which is in now and ready to go. There's our top of descent, which is just roughly in reach. Before we start to come onto the decel, and I'll show you the routing as well as we come down into lovely Rhodes. Weather is pretty choppy up here. So we are going to go to the Romeo Delta Sierra, 6,000 feet from Lochner. We're then going to follow it all the way around from Ripon, and then come round the bend to intercept for the localizer, and then start the descent down onto the glide slope. So as you can see outside, winds are very choppy, so another one today as we are in around the Greece area, and winds are not very nice at all. So there's 210, which is set. Top of descent is just within reach. If we activate the top of descent now, then what would happen is we descend at 1,000 feet per minute underneath the vertical deviation glide path, and we would keep descending at 1,000 feet per minute down to whatever we've got set on the MCP altitude, unless the vertical deviation then catches up and comes down. So I'm going to leave it till our top of descent, and we should be ready to go. We've got the forecast, which is in, anti-ice, which is on and checked, and we are now ready for our top of descent. 10 nautical miles within reach, 25 nautical miles from Ripon, as we are just going to be leaving. And then we've got Lochner in sight at flight level 210, and we've got 1008 down on the QNH for when we come in. So 1008, which is going to be set. Then we can pre-arm, and we've got 1008, which is going to be set here, which is also set and checked. Auto brake, we'll come in and take auto brake number 3. We'll check out our approach speeds as we come down, as we can get that all set. So we're expected to have 4.9 tons of fuel, and we've got 5.3 at the moment, which gives us a 0.4. So we're going to be carrying in 58.2, and we are going to take flaps 40, 11 knots. As it's 11 knots, we could put +6, and we'll just say that it was 12 divided by 2, which will be +6, and there is lovely Rhodes in sight, as we are going to get ready now to start that top of descent phase and come into lovely Rhodes. So on for our descent checklist. So for the descent checklist, we have got ASUS raw information is set. We've got a few clouds at 1800 feet. QNH is 1008. We've got 250 at 11 over on our winds. So our altimeters are checked. Radios currently we've got a 115.8 on both sides for the Rhodes VOR, which is right here for our initial approach fix. I'm not going to put in the PAR in, as we are only going to use the Rhodes, and then we're going to start to use the ILS. So we'll get the ILS in for the arrival for the ILS Zulu, the 110.3. Which is also set and checked, as we now start to leave at flight level 210 to come down into lovely Rhodes. So beautiful scenes, and we've got some lovely choppy weather to accommodate us down into the runway. So passing flight level 200 now. On the descent, de-ice is on and checked, which is confirmed. We've got the engine anti-ice. Landing altitude is 19, we've got set for 0, which is also set and checked. Still coming down now, we've got the 061, which is in, as we're following down to Lochner, so that's the 063. Auto brake number 3, which we are going to have in, and we can have a look and see if we get up the airport. You can see that we have got the 24 coming in to the runway. So passing through 18,000 on our way to Ripon, and then there's Lochner, where we're then going to further start to decel, coming down in VNAV path, and we are following the vertical profile, as we can see right here, which is also right here on the navigational display, as we descend through 18,000 now. Transition level coming down into the airport, it's going to be, we'll say, 6,000 feet. There's Lochner, which will come in onto the 063 for 6,000 feet, and then once we go from there, we're going to hit the Rhodes VOR, follow it down onto the 062, and then make that left-hand turn at max bank angle at 22 degrees. So, seeing as we're not going to be making any more turns, we can put it to 20 degrees bank, which will be set as well, so we don't overcompensate as we now pass through 17,000 feet. Temperature slowly increasing. Temperature down in Rhodes is currently looking at 28 degrees. So we'll be getting ready to put on the engine anti-ice, turn that off past 10 degrees. 10 degrees or below, then we will have the engine anti-ice on. Any freezing over the wings, then you'd put on the wing anti-ice. Above 10 degrees you can turn it all off. So here we come down, 16,000, seatbelt signs are on, engine start switches are continuous, which are checked. Passing through 15,007. There's our decel, which is then going to decel us down to 240 just for when we get to Lochner. I love the orthos. The orthos actually came out very nice. I was using the Bing orthos, I think. These are zoom level 17. They look actually really nice. The arrival should be fairly straightforward. We've got the winds, so we'll see if we'll see what happens down for the arrival today. Throttles are currently down. Speed brake can be armed, which is checked. We've got auto brake set for number 3. As turbulence is starting to get very choppy. So, no weather display. So we'll keep the terrain on. As well, we're going to come through, passing through 13,000 feet, under 10,000, we'll get landing lights on, and we'll prepare the aircraft for the second phase for the approach. So, just passing Lochner, we're going to slow to 240. We can check all of our speeds for the Romeo Delta, and then the Romeo Delta 10, which is then going to bring us all on. So 10 nautical miles, there's the DME, so 10 from Romeo Delta. That is where we are then going to slow down to 214, and then we'll make that left-hand turn into the runway. Following the VNAV path, still on profile as we come down, and we can check the vertical bearing. And we can see 3.3 to around 2.3, so the aircraft will need to pitch up. As you can see, as it's pitching up, you can see the vertical bearing start to decrease, and then as the aircraft pitches down, then the flight path angle will start to increase. So, get the speed brakes open now, so we're going to slow to 240. Coming just near to 10,000 feet, we'll get landing lights on, which are checked. Continue the descent down, as we're not too far now from the Romeo Delta Sierra, currently 19 nautical miles. .24 to 25 knot winds now, just coming over from the back, so we've got a slight tailwind, but that'll be coming in, so we're having winds over from the left, gusting over to the right when we come in for the arrival. Down for the runway heading, we've got the 245, which we're going to set in. 245, which is set. 245, which is set and checked, just passing 10,000. We've got landing lights which are on. Speed brakes can now come back in. Following on to the VNAV path as we descend down, currently now 4 degrees. So we'll be getting ready to turn off the engine anti-ice in just a few moments time. So there we go, we're going to start to go into that descent now as we fly down to 6,000, and then by the time we get to the Romeo Delta Sierra, we're then going to be at around 6,000 feet, which we are in 6,000 above, and then 3,000 feet by the time we come down 10 nautical miles from the VWAR. Once we pass the VWAR, then we'll interact the navs for the ILS frequency, which we've got in, which is the 110.30, which we'll switch over, as I haven't put in the full multi-mode panel, as this is the 700, and I've just left it as it is. currently as we go. So as we've got VNAV path, the aircraft is following the path as it is. If the path just suddenly, the vertical deviation just suddenly dropped right down, then the aircraft would follow it. If we go into a VNAV speed, which there usually is on the normal Zebo, there is a speed. Now they've integrated it, so now the VNAV path is on all the time, but before it used to run either VNAV path or VNAV speed. VNAV speed, practically the aircraft will descend or climb at any given rate to keep the speed that is set or defined in the FMC, etc. So if you put it into VNAV path, then when you're descending, it will follow the vertical deviation path all the way down to its set targets of altitude restrictions, etc. If it's in VNAV speed, then it will just basically keep itself at that speed, whether it has to slow the rate of descent down, increase the rate of descent to speed up. But it's best to have it in VNAV path, as the aircraft then will follow the path down on vertical profile, and you'll be able to then control your speed, whether you need a bit of speed brakes to slow down or the throttles will cut back. So you can see now that we're getting a little bit blustery as we come in 240. Landing lights are on. We'll get the runway turn-off lights on just after we come through. Once we pass over the VOR, then we'll activate the ILS frequency, which will be coming in. So our minimums is 300 for a 282. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at 350 as it's quite fiddly and I don't want to keep zooming in and out for you guys. So there's 6,000 feet. We're going to now push down to 2005, which is where we're going to stay and go no lower until we reach down for the glide slope. So still got 20 knot winds coming in, and if we've got the 20 knot winds, we'll have a look and see what the winds are like as we get right down. And if the winds do calm down, then we'll keep in. We've got 11 knot winds as stands. We've got +6 in at the moment, but as you can see, the winds just a few thousand feet above are just a little bit different. So breaching into the clouds now. There's QNH is 6,000, which can go back over. Chart checked. Okay, so as we get the reserve on 1008, which is set. Passing through 5004. As you can see, the path that's going to take us all the way out, and then there's the glide slope just there as we so passing through 4007. Water brake is set to number 3. Speeds of wind are now increasing as well, just slowly gusting. As we now start our descent from 3000, we can see the decel is in now. We'll go to our flaps up. As once we make the left hand turn, we're going to a flaps 5. So we can use the speed brakes for the moment, and then we'll go into our flaps 5. We've left the VOR now, so we can switch over the ILS frequency, which has now come in, which is the India Romeo Delta Sierra, which is right there and confirmed for the 245, which is set and checked on both courses. Currently slowing down now to our flaps up. There's 2,500 above, and then we'll come down for 2,500, where we'll intercept for the glide slope. Glide slope is going to start just around 10 nautical miles out. As speed brakes are in, 2,500 is checked. Brakes are now in as we are ready to go. So as it says 2,500 above, that's why the aircraft is staying just a little bit more, and as we are in arm position we can increase the throttle as we are disconnected from the servo. So now we can just initiate until the MCP speed comes back. Because we're in the descent, that's why it's retarded, because it thinks that we're still descending, but as the aircraft's leveled off, basically that is why the speed's decreased. So we're going to start to bring the control columns over now as we're at 3,500 feet. So we've got 20 degrees, bank, which is right in.
1,000 to go.
20 degrees, so we've got 2 there. So there's 20 degrees in, and we're going to go to the 108. It can be quite fiddly. Okay, there's a 108, which is checked. As we come around the bend, MCP's speed's going to kick in. We can activate the approach as the localizer is over on the right hand side. Glide slope will come in as we get a little bit closer. So we can see they're pre-armed now as we go into that left hand turn. So we'll now start to go in as we roll out. There's the glide slope, which will come to life at around 2,500 feet. We're going to start to drop into our flaps 5 just to keep the winds from speeding us up. Single channels in now as localizer is active and intercepting for the runway. As we slowly now start to descend and decel, ready for the arrival.
1,000 to go.
1,000 to go, which is checked. 20 degrees of bank, which is also setting as well, as the winds are dragging it around. Got the runway in sight as well, which we can see. As we slowly slow down now to our flaps 5. Well, for the approach, we've got in 140 plus 6. And you see the winds are not very nice, so we'll go in and put a
1,000
flaps 15 or plus 10 it. Just give us a little bit more over on our speeds. That means we'll be coming in for a 150 flaps 30. $2,700, ready for 2005. Flaps 5, which is in and checked. And let's hope that we come down and get a nice and smooth today. So we're level now at 2,500 feet. Just waiting for the glide slope to come in. As you see, the winds are blowing us all over the place as the aircraft's trying to re-establish itself. Glide slope's now starting to come to life, as we're going to be descending down for around about 800 feet per minute. So once the magenta diamond gets just within the first bar to the centre, then we can drop down into a flaps 15 and we'll go gear down. Okay, flaps 15, gear down. Glide slope will now intercept and VNAV path will go to GS. And we can see a lovely runway which is within view. So the glide slope is now intercepted. Currently passing now 23 and continuing. So 34 knot winds gusting up. So we'll see what we can do with this today. Drop down into a flaps 30 in just a few minutes time as we do our landing checklist. So our altimeters which are checked for 1008, which are set and cross checked on either side. We've got the auto brake set for number 3, which is set and checked, and the 245 courses, which are now intercepted for the localizer and glide slope on the single channel. We are coming in now for flaps 30, which is 150, which is VREV plus 10. We could do a little bit more. We're now going to our flaps 30, which is going to be set down for our 150. From there, we've got the second one, autopilot, which we're not going to be doing for the auto land. The engine start switches are continuous, which are set and checked, and now we can get the runway turn-offs on as well. So, it should be an interesting arrival, as it is very, very rocky. So, as you can see, we are looking for around about 800 feet per minute on the descent. And as I'm happy now, and we can do a little bit of manual flying, we can disengage the autopilot and the auto throttle, and now I have control of the aircraft. So, wind is quite bad. 1,000 checked.
Feet stabilized, Mr. Perch, altitude set.
Coming down now to red 2 white.
Approaching minimums. 500. Minimums.
Continue.
400. $300. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, speed brakes are up, full pressure on the column, and reversers are active. Checked, reversers can be stoked. There's released pressure on the column now, and auto brakes can also be disarmed as well. And there we are, guys, down in lovely Rhodes with that blistering weather that I did see go up to around 34 knots, averaged around 25 to 27, which was really, really crazy. Good flight. Retract the speed brakes now, and the flaps can be fully retracted, auto brake can be disarmed, and we can now taxi off on the runway. So as we taxi on off now, we'll get ready to go up to the gate. As we now come on to Charlie 1, or Charlie, ready for us to pass over the hold short. Hope you enjoyed the flight, guys. Hope you enjoyed the arrival. Let me know what you thought of the arrival down in the comment section below. So just passing over the hold short, we can now get everything all set and back to normal. So landing lights can go off, runway tunnels can go off, along with our taxi, strobes can go back, engine start switches can now go off, which are also set, and passenger signs can be turned off too. As we now steer into the block. And then what we'll do is we'll go to our landing cinematics. I'll take the plane up to the gate as it's right here, so we'll go on to stand, and we'll shut down the engines and get them all ready to go. So we'll get the APU started. as is around 1 minute, 1.5 minutes after arrival. Let's make this left hand turn and then we'll swing in onto stand. So we'll take stand 12. Okay, so we'll stop the aircraft right here. We can switch over the APU, which is set and shared. We get the parking brake on, which is set. We can now switch down and turn off the fuel cut-off switches. Packs can now be turned off. Isolation cut-off can be turned open, and we can get all of the engine bleeds, everything all off. So we are now ready to leave the cockpit, guys. Hope you enjoyed the flight. I'm going to leave you with the landing cinematics now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Help us get to that 2K subscriber goal. And thank you to everybody that's new to the channel, old, present. Thank you for supporting the channel. I shall see you next time. Have a great day, and I'll see you very soon. So take care.